Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this East Finchley Town Council Planning Committee meeting dated the 5th of August. We are core just about. Thank you very much. So I believe we will begin with public participation. If we have anyone who wishes to speak, but I don't believe we have anyone at the minute. No one. Oh, why am I asking? I'm the one doing the Zoom call. There's no one hanging around waiting to speak, I don't think. So we will move on to agenda item 1. Agenda item 2, rather. To receive the minutes of the meeting held 15th of July.
Can we do apologies first, Chair?
That was item 1. Thank you. Apologies for absence. We have. Oh yes, right there. We have Councillor Mrs. Mockford, who is unwell. And we have personal commitments, I believe, from Councillor Peacock and Councillor John Betsy. I don't think we have any. I should reread it rather than try and remember. Okay, now we'll move to item 2.
Do we want to note those?
Yes, I'd love us to know.
But do we want to accept the Councillor Mockford and note the others, Chair?
No,
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. So do I need to propose that? Or does somebody, does Chair?
I'll propose.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. I'll show of hands to and no. Thank you very much. Okay. To receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of July, which I believe has been circulated. So I would like to propose that the hang on a minute, 15th of July. Yes, that the minutes of the meeting 15th of July are correct record of the meeting. Can I ask?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any comments on those minutes? Can I have a show of hands to approve those, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. And item 3 to actually I will sign first.
Initial at the bottom of the first page, Chair. Sign on the second, and then initial the schedule.
Okay, thank you very much. Just enough there, I think. Thanks for that. Okay. Agenda item 3 to receive members' declarations of interest.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm a member of Mid Sussex District Council District Planning Committee, so any applications come before me tonight and they reappear on that committee, then I reserve my right to change my opinion should further information come to light. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Whitson. Do I have any more? Remind me, do I? We haven't got anything. Okay, agenda item 4, chairman's announcements. I do have one. I've written mine, so bear with me. A new national planning policy framework in PPF has been issued for consultation with a closing date of 24th of September, which has been circulated, and a response has been requested by the 2nd of September to allow for a draft to come to this committee. Does anyone have any comments? Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. As a district councillor, I know that they obviously have got their planning team going through documents with their KC also. I believe it's Rupert Warrenster. Any further briefing notes that I get from them that I'm allowed to further to the town clerk and yourself and vice chair, I will. Did one last week. Obviously, that's in advance of the district council's forthcoming examination of their revised local plan, district plan, which is expected to go to examination probably October. And clearly that will be a test of the new NPPF numbers wise, etc. So it's quite an interesting time. And we're very much, at the forefront of that district and town. So I'll keep everybody informed on that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whitson. Councillor Pons.
Yeah, it's just sort of an observation. I can't remember the number, but it's quite a sizable increase that I think we're being asked, if it's the same announcement that local authorities have been asked to provide in terms of housing stock supply. I just think it's, it'll be, to Councillor Whittaker's point, sort of interesting how that stands up to scrutiny, given that the numbers being raised and therefore the supply stock has got to meet that higher threshold, if that is indeed in scope of this, or is that to come?
Yeah, no, sure. I think that the risk for us as a district and potentially as a parish is our neighbouring districts, notably Tandridge and Wealdon, and to a lesser extent Lewes, and depending on their performance and numbers and increased targets, that be the potential downside risk for us. But time will tell.
Thank you very much. So that's the only chairman's announcement I have. So if I may move to agenda item 5, which is the community highway scheme. The request is for county to consider traffic calming at Hurst Farm Road. Unusually, there is no scheme promoted at this point. It is a request for county to agree that something is necessary and then to determine what's presumably in discussion with community at a later time. Committee are asked to advise whether they would support the scheme being worked up for later consideration. Would anyone like to make any comments on that?
I thought, yes, indeed. So firstly, I believe I don't need to formally declare in terms of excuse myself, no conversation or the debate within the committee, but I do indeed live on Hurst Farm Road, have done for 16 years, so I can attest to the exactly how it's gone. I would say it has increased over those 16 years, the use of that road, particularly in peak times, as you would expect, mainly due to the fact that I think twofold, one of which is the additional housing stock that is between the 2 points of the roundabouts at the bottom, for those that know it, and I think it's Dunningshill Road and Ship Street, which is where that interchange meets. The number of houses has increased, and therefore the number of traffic between those 2 points. And then secondly, just being used as a alternative road, especially if you're coming northbound on the A22, you can turn left into Herentide and sort of certain, it's a bit longer, but you can kind of guarantee that you're probably not going to get stuck in traffic, particularly if you're going to join the Tennis Hill Road. So I think we are seeing an increased amount of traffic, sort of firstly. And then secondly, again, due to the nature of that being used predominantly at peak times, we are seeing, should we say, irresponsible driving in terms of excessive speeds being used. For those that don't know, it is a dangerous road in the sense there are blind dips. In fact, straight outside my house, I'm worried that my children would get knocked over. They've been taught from an early age to count to 4 when looking left, because a car can be hidden in that dip for up to 4 seconds before reappearing quite quickly at the top end of the road. And there's numerous points along that road that indeed are dangerous. If people stick to 30, obviously, and there is obviously, 30 signs along that. But there's not particularly, I would say, given that there's Mead School as well there, I wouldn't say there's particularly any safe crossing points on that road. It's literally, take your life in your hand. There's not really room as well for any islands. So I'm not sure what would be proposed, but I think generally, the whole of that ward would be, open to suggestions. Some people kind of go speed humps, not really in favour, or single lane traffic. Again, one of the challenges with any of these is some of the schemes will lead to actually more acceleration, more deceleration, more noise, potentially more congestion, but we do need to slow those speeds. So whether it's speed calming measures, maybe some of the signs we talked about, or indeed speed camera, I'll leave that for others to come up with suitable suggestions. All I can say is recently, and I think this was in the lady who's putting this forward, we did have, and this is about 10 doors, 15 doors out from me, a car managed to somehow hit a tree and spin the car to then take out a fence and be reversed into somebody's garden. So, and this is in the 30. So how anybody could be going at speeds to actually enable that to happen, I'm not quite sure. So yeah, I would be fully supportive of a scheme, but reserved to see what that scheme will be.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, clearly it's a county council, West Sussex County Council matter. However, obviously Gardenwood Road, and particularly the southern end of Gardenwood Road, is very similar geography to Hurst Farm Road. and that does have speed humps on it. So, but clearly it's down to the council. I think it's probably Councillor Russell in this ward.
Yes.
So, you know, should this committee council kind of support that, suggest we get through the town clerk, but Councillor Russell's early views potentially on that. But in principle, I'm supporting.
Yeah, my understanding is, although I don't think it's the speak to the council, Mrs. Russell, I believe she's generally supportive of the idea. Any more comments on that? Or, town clerk, are you looking for a vote to actually say whether we support it or not? Yes. Okay.
Yes, please, Chair. That's all we're really looking for is, would committee support a scheme being brought forward to improve the road safety of Hurst Farm Road? That's all we're looking for.
Yes.
And town clerk, I appreciate, am I able to vote given, okay, I'm getting the nods, just wanted to double
At this
check on the
point,
side.
Chair, at this point, because there is no actual scheme in front of us, this is a general principle of would it be appropriate for someone to put a scheme forward? What you're not doing is you're not backing any particular scheme. You're just saying, I think that we would like to have some type of traffic calming on that road. So the fact that you live there, that's absolutely fine. You've declared that, and that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, so can I have a show of hands as support? Okay, yeah, absolutely. I would like to propose that in principle we support the plan to look at potential traffic calming measures in said area. Could have worded that much better, but can I have a show of hands first? Can I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that,
I
Chair.
can't jump the gun, can I? Wouldn't be constitutional. If I could have a show of hands to support that, please. And I'm not going to ask for any gaps because we haven't got anyone else. So that's carried. For anyone who can't see that it's been carried. Okay, so if we can park that one and move on to the agenda item 6, which is the protected tree applications. This is probably where I should start doing something with this. So we can actually do the.
Yeah,
Am I going to
you need to, I think, share screen first, Chair.
share it? Oh, yes.
So, yeah, if you maximize that. Then the green, see the green at the bottom.
But it's been opened for you, so it should just be there as you go to share screen. If not, you're going to need to open it.
I think
Is it I can't see it. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Chairman, I'm going to turn my camera off because I think I'll get better quality of sound if I do. So you won't be able to see.
Thank you.
Just move forward, see if the sound is not inside loaded. It's kind of there we go, just start
I
from
think it's just being slow to load. Just give it a moment or two.
just move it.
There we go. Okay, brilliant. So we've got 2 on there. Yeah, no, Councillor Mrs. Lockwood, who usually has one to make, but does anyone no, in fact, I need to problem one. So I think I need to propose that we approve these on the basis that the tree officer has no adverse findings. I'm to propose that.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments on those? Fantastic. Can I have a show of hands to approve? Thank you very much. That's carried. Okay, now to the substantive agenda. That's long, isn't it? Okay, picking up a lot. So to start with, we had the M24-0886, 3 Morton Road. So we've had this one before, not too long ago actually. And from my recollection, we were supportive generally of approval, provided that well, there was a fair recommendation from one of the neighbours who suggested that maybe measures such as a frosted window at the rear might be able to support privacy. And from what I can tell, that has actually been implemented as a proposal with it coming back to us. I'm not aware of any substantial changes from the last time, but I'm quite happy for someone to take into task if I've missed something. But obviously it's a demolition of the garage and putting in a new space with a spiral staircase, which was a little bit different from the rest of the street scene, but committee back when it came to this first time weren't too worried about it being too different from everywhere else. So I probably should read the comments that we've got here. So as I say, previous response from the committee commented that we hadn't seen any plan notice prominently displayed at the site. The street scene is eclectic, therefore would not be out of keeping, although the Juliet balcony and spiral staircase, which you can't really see in that graphic there, would be unique on the street scene. The comments from neighbour number 6 were supported by the committee. That's with the frosted window that we took about a minute ago, and about to support approval, subject to the rear ground floor windows being obscured. And there's been no new representation. So on that basis, I would be happy to recommend we support for approval. Can I have a second on that, please?
Second, that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Has anyone got a comment on that? Yes, please. It's your water.
It is indeed. So this is mentioned before, come before. I haven't had the opportunity, apologies committee, to see if the notice was prominent this time, because certainly it was nowhere in the vicinity last time. Maybe it had accidentally been taken down, not through the fault of the applicant. I think the key point I think we mentioned before, I'll just reinforce it, is that road is an eclectic mix of, you know, styles, you know, some very traditional. I personally like them, but it has over the years had a number of builds that are of all different shape sizes. It's also worth noting this is next to, and I'm going to get this wrong, the NTC, I think it is, a building. ATC, thank you, Councillor Whitaker. I knew I'd get it wrong. Cannot remember which one it is.
They won't forgive me.
They won't forgive me. I dread to think what Remembrance Sunday is going to be like. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So this is the garage next to it. Just to remind committee, the actual applicant lives diagonally opposite. Hence why it's actually 3 Moulton Road that is actually applying to it, which is diagonally opposite to where this this property is, which is they obviously own the garage, obviously to do with their property from when it was originally built. Again, you know, it's really hard one here. I must admit the Juliet balcony and spiral staircase, I'm not a big fan of, but then I can't really have a major, you know, given that eclectic scene and the fact it's next to the ATC building, it's not particularly out of keeping. I think my only thing to sort of ask committee is whether we just ensure that that is sort of, you know, I'm sure it will be safe and easy for, you know, suitable handrails, width, grips, etc. Because I must admit, I would not personally want to be climbing up that in winter with ice and snow, etc. And that seems to be the only method of actually getting into that top floor. So that would be my only comment. But other than that, I don't see any material change from the last application. Therefore, we'll continue to support with those caveats.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any more comments on that? Should we move on? Okay. So we have a proposal on the table. I have a show of hands for support of that recommendation, please. Thank you very much. That's carried. Wonderful. So next we have the cottage, Coombe Hill Road, East, which is DN 24 1600, I guess you say, which is the proposed 2-storey side and rear extension to rear of the existing detached garage. My understanding is here we have our the existing graphic, and this grey block here is essentially the extension. A little bit from this side, I put too much on one page otherwise. So we can see here's the garage, and here's the addition. The main, I believe this comes under the A1B area. That's the main reason I put it in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I don't particularly have any major issues. I mean, it does strike me a bit Lego set-like in terms of all the three major parts of the property are kind of uneven, but in terms of their height. But I don't have any issues in terms of the plan itself. I believe, probably should have got a copy of the report in here, but I believe there was a the view from NSBC was that it's not likely to have an issue, have an effect on the outstanding area of outstanding natural beauty. So I would be. Okay, so you don't have that's got there anyway. So oh, well, it's the same result, yes. Yes. So I would be happy to support approval for this. So I'd like to propose a second for that, please.
Second that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments on this?
Yeah, it's Cougar Road. Obviously, it's in keeping. It's a nice style. It's modest. I think it respects all the AONB criteria in the neighbourhood plan, but also district plan. So I would agree.
Fantastic. Okay, Councillor Tom.
Yeah, it's a road I often walk down to get some fresh air and peace and quiet. Often walk past this house, very admire the owners, very, very lucky individuals, and I'm sure they work hard for it, but also a lovely property, well, very tasteful, very in keeping with that area. And I'm sure that this would be the same. My only, and the reason I actually also requested this brought to committee is that at what point does an outbuilding extension become pseudo another property? And I think this is right on the limit, because if you look, it's higher, it's wider, it's another, and it's detached. I think if this was attached to the building, we might have a slightly different view. I suppose this, for me, especially in an AONB, is right on that line. I'm sure they took some advice on this, or it's close to me not feeling comfortable with the size of the extension and potential further modification if it were to come back to committee through a further application. So I would be supportive in this instance. And again, very tasteful house. I'm sure it'll be done very well and in keeping, but yeah, just very close to being possibly seen as another property or potential another habitable property.
Very fair point. Yeah, but good to have those comments without approval to try and voice our wishing to not have such things creep up as they do. So wonderful. Okay. Any more comments, or can we move to a vote? Fantastic. We have a recommendation for approval table and have a show of hands to approve. Thank you very much. That's carried. And finally, we have 24 BM 24 1682, which is Clay's West Lane, which is a retrospective application for the extension of is it a loggia? Is that Italian for lodge or something? Outbuilding with internal alterations, shed and the carport. I appear to have missed. There we go. That's more like it. Not much to do with this. I do apologise. Talk about this dark and shaded area here. So essentially, it's retrospective. Obviously, it's come to us after the fact. So I believe the carport is down this side somewhere, and this is it's like an extension of an extension. Obviously, rather a sizable alteration. And I believe this is the boundary, and I believe these are two trees, perhaps, from what I gathered from the tree report. So my main concern about this one was this latest correspondence from the tree report from I believe the assistant tree officer, which you don't know if you can read, but essentially it says, I've reviewed the tree report for this proposal. It's difficult to comment retrospective application, any damage may already have been done, and I would not want further damage to trees by asking for the development to be removed. I hope that this hasn't damaged trees at this location. This graphic here, it's horrendous, but I believe the red circles are the trees that serve a great purpose for different reasons, and then the blue sorts of colours are those that are a bit more useful, if you want to call it that. So yeah, that was my main concern when I looked through the paperwork, in the sense that is it going to do more harm than good trying to remove the work that's been done as it is. But I'm very keen to be guided by the committee and what they think. On that basis, I think I will recommend that we approve the retrospective application, but can I have a second of that? I don't know if I will, but I'll certainly have a go. Councillor Woodson wanted a second.
Yeah, second. It's done deal. It's not huge. I appreciate the comments of the three of us. We are where we are, not where we want to be, really. So, one of those.
Okay.
I'm sure the planning officers at Mid Sussex will deal with it appropriately, and if necessary, issue any further correspondence with whatever decision they decide. Presumably, it will be delegated, but you know, from my point of view, it is what it is, and you know, it's not huge compared to the house, the size of the house, and the standing of that house anyway. Councillor Pond may have other views, by the look of it on his face.
If I can just make a very quick comment on that side, very quickly. My thinking is, with regards to the comment from the three of us, there may be more meat on the bones to come out later on. Perhaps I'm not sure if there'd be another assessment. Obviously, it was a tiny bit vague, but we have an opinion there, which is helpful. So it'll be interesting to see. But on that basis, that's me with my view. But Councillor Bond is a different view.
Yeah, I suppose I don't feel particularly strongly either way. I suppose the tree is again, to the tree officer's point, it's like, well, you've damaged the tree now. I think first point would be if it is potential tree damage, exactly. We don't know for certain. Sure. But I think given the location, if I could just ask, so I think it's hard to see on that, because isn't it the bottom, let me get my orientation, is that bottom left blue circle, which is I think the tree that they're most concerned with. Yeah. Because the actual extension is this from the original application? I think this isn't so it hasn't got the bit added on. So if you move your cursor slightly to the right, sorry, where the blue meets the first purpley section of outline, sorry, the bottom left circle, which is blue,
yeah.
If you move towards the building where it's kind of the purple outline, I think I think that, and this is where it's really hard, I think that's the gap between there and the blue is actually where the new building is. So it's not the fact, and if you just bear that in mind, if we move up a slide, please. Actually one more, I think it's the first slide that you showed a bit, which shows keep going up, and then
that's the old
here. So actually, it's really hard. It's actually that if you look at the top left diagram, I think it's that bit right at the top, the right top bit. That's the additional bit. It's actually being, I believe, that.
Chair, if you've not got your pointer, it's in the bag where the laptop came out of. Then you'll have your laser pointer. That might help.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Thank you, Clark. So for those in the room, you can see where the cursor is. For those maybe not in the room, looking back on this, so that's the actual bit that's new. And can you see? Actually, this is easier. Can you see the tree on the right? You can probably see that little dot. That's the tree that I think is the most causing the most concern here. So I think to the point is that is within the. If you were to imagine that circle going all the way around, that actually cuts straight through that. I do feel like the applicant possibly knew what they were doing, and obviously that's a very subjective view, and obviously, but like it was clearly not on the application. It was clear that this building is within that circle. you know, my concern is, you know, would we have approved this application with that? Would the tree officer have done it? And therefore, regardless of whether the tree's damaged or not, would we have actually approved it? And I think we, personally as a committee, I think we need to make a decision as to, forget the tree officer, forget any damage, would we have approved that, knowing that A, it's bigger. So firstly, it's bigger. So it's already very large and they're adding more. And we can see it's quite clearly within the circle, and we'll do on that basis. Now, regardless of whether that means that they need to take it down or they need to pay some form of cost borne out or put in place an additional tree to, and I don't know if Councillor Whittaker has a view on what they would do, but I think that's, for me, that's the point.
Yeah.
The point is, would we have approved this, regardless of what the tree officer said, if it had come before us before? And I'm not sure we would, but that's, I suppose, this committee to decide.
Yeah, what I can say, Chair, thank you, Councillor Bond, is that the District Council have got a very professional planning team. Their enforcement team are, you know, are a big, strong team, very active. The planning officer will consult anyway, you know, and take all the circumstances into consideration. Hence what I said before. I suspect that the decision at District will be probably to approve, but if any necessary further correspondence about warning of potential damage to that tree, if it has been damaged and if it subsequently decays, then potentially a planning condition could be applied to replace said tree in some shape or further work in some shape or form. So the officers will take all of that in the round into consideration, if that's any reassurance to you, Councillor Bond.
And it is, so thank you, sorry, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Whittaker. And the other thing is, at the moment, just to make me aware, that building is not accessible. It is being badged a shed, and it may well be used for that purpose. It is currently not accessible from the main property. It's hard to see on this, I don't know if you've got your point of but not to worry. So I think one of the other things, if we are to indeed approve it, would be to sort of quite clearly state that if that was to, that we would not possibly not have approved if that shed, as it's being badged, had been accessible to the property, which is by virtue an extension, and therefore possibly would have been perceived as being over too large a build for the property. I don't know how the committee feels about
I suppose it depends how it's worded, but did you catch all of that?
I did. I did, but I'm now a little bit confused as to what it is that you're now saying. So are you saying that that you actually feel that this is overdevelopment of the site and therefore you wouldn't support? Whereas up till now, what I've heard is that although you're unhappy that it's gone ahead without having considered it in the first instance, you would support, but we've now moved into a potential overdevelopment discussion.
Well,
Would it be helpful if I asked if we accounted for it? Or do?
Well, there's a recommendation on the table, which has been seconded.
Jeff, over.
Right. The committee happy if we move to it?
For the chair to decide.
Yeah. Well, what I can say, Chair, is that we can caveat it with a condition to say, can the tree, on the evidence of the tree officer correspondence, which you cited and shown, can planning officer double check to see if there potentially is damage to the tree? If so, can they put condition to rectify said damage or in some shape or form? Ameliorates, mitigates.
What I've got, Chair, if it helps, what I've got at the moment is committee of 5th of August noted this was a retrospective application and was now complete. The committee concurred with the tree officer's comments as to any damage which may have occurred, and if this is the case, would ask for retribution by the applicant regarding any any damaged trees. Otherwise, as work is complete, they would support the approval of the application, because that will do exactly what Councillor Whittaker is asking for, that if there's something that that has damaged that tree and the tree officer is that way inclined, then they will determine what they feel is the appropriate steps to be taken, whether another tree needs to be planted somewhere else on the premises, whether or not works will be needed to be done to that tree, whether protection needs to be done on that tree. That's what they will then consider.
Thank you very much. So to vote with that caveat in mind, I have a show of hands for
approval with that caveat.
with the Thank you very much. Should I see the council proposal?
No, it's gone through. Gone through.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for that. Then. I'm guessing we can move on from that one. It was actually our last application on the table, I believe. So that's the end of.
You're not doing Saint Faith. Not doing Saint Faith.
Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't on my side. If you, I'm perfectly happy for us.
Okay. I'm satisfied, having seen the drawings, that it's appropriate. I know, I've taken Councillor Pond's earlier correspondence. It is in a prominent position. It's a fine building, and the addition of the second dormer will add to the symmetry of the building. It's not a large extension, and it obviously will benefit the business, which is a very successful business. So I'm fully supportive of it.
Fantastic. Are we? Is that just a comment?
For the record, we're not. I know we're not voting on it. As an Inverhorn councillor, it's in my ward.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Fantastic, wonderful. Thank you very much. Apologies, I didn't realise. Wasn't sure we were going to cover it. Okay, so the next meeting of the well, that concludes this meeting of the planning committee, and the next meeting will be on 28th of August. 28th of August, indeed.
It's a Wednesday,
Yes.
so it's a slightly unusual day.
Yeah,
Just
that's
a note.
exactly worth noting. Absolutely, thank you very much both. It's it's a Wednesday, 28th of August, and I will close this meeting at 19:97.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Clark. Get well soon.
Yes, thank you very much, Julia.